Well, hello and thank you for joining me for another ITY video. I'm here at CA World 2016 in Las Vegas with Paul Falkenstein, VP and Managing Director of CA Technologies Australia and New Zealand. Welcome to the program.
Alex, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here with you today.
Well, it's a great pleasure to be here as well. It's lovely to always be in Las Vegas. There's always incredible conferences and these amazingly huge casinos and venues. I wouldn't be surprised if some of them are using CA Technologies to improve their operations.
I'm pretty sure that there are a number of places on the strip that actually do use that technology.
Yeah. Now, tell us a bit about your career at CA Technologies, leading up to your appointment as MD in Australia.
So I started with CA Technologies back in '96, and for the first 10 years of my career I worked very much in the domestic market, and I worked in multiple areas of the business, so both direct sales and education partners. So it gave me a really good footing into the next part of my career.
Sure. And I understand your most recent posting was Japan, and Japan's always a fascinating place because there's so much technology and there's such amazing people. What was it like over there?
So Japan was a 2.5-year posting. It was really interesting. The culture's so different to the Australian culture. Just some of the ways that businesses go about getting business done.
Yep.
Incredible pride on customer service. It's just part of the fabric of Japan's society.
So when did you start as MD in Australia?
So I started on the 1st of September.
Yeah.
So I've been back for 10 weeks roughly.
And what's it like to be back in Australia, and what are some of the things that you noticed that are different about how things are now done in Australia compared to when you were last here, I guess 20 years ago, and to all your overseas postings?
Wow. So being back in Australia, first of all, it's a bit of a family thing, but it's really great to be back with my family and friends.
Yeah.
But from a business perspective, what I've seen is that Australia, particularly in this digital transformation,
which is the big buzzword, it's the thing every company is doing, and I mean CA has been a huge part of that process for a lot of companies.
It is. So we first started talking about the application economy about 3 years back.
Yeah, I remember.
And now it's started morphing, and really everyone's talking about digital transformation, as you say.
Yeah.
But if you look at the surveys and the actual what's happening in the world is, in Australia, 85% of businesses either have started or plan to start in the next 12 months on their digital transformation journey.
And are we behind the rest of the world? Are we on par? Are we ahead?
I think we're right up there with the leaders.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really, and coming from a country like Japan where everyone talks about the technology.
Well, they're so technologically advanced and have been for so long.
They are in some fields, but in some other fields they choose not to be. So it's really interesting to see what happens. Yeah.
And so any differences you were saying with Australia, things you've noticed since you've been back?
I think the banks are a great example.
Yeah.
I had the pleasure of having a tour of one of the banks just a week ago, and went through their innovation lab and where they do all their digital work, and sitting in the same floor you have the business people in jeans and t-shirts, and you have the IT folk, and they're all working together on the project together, and just seeing how they're focused solely on what their application will do for their customers and how they can get that out to market faster.
And any other sectors or examples you want to give about things you've noticed with your Australian customers that have really been, pulling ahead with?
Well, I was recently in Canberra.
Yeah. My town of birth.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, and being in Canberra and seeing what the government sector's starting to do, and talking with people. So I went to a presentation where the CIO of the tax office presented, and seeing what the tax office has done in the last few years is just amazing, and how they're trying to take their digital transformation and their applications to integrate out to not just the population of Australia, but also into the accounting practices and how they're using APIs and just they're doing what everyone's talking about. That's real life.
Well, it's great to see government,
Yes.
getting with the program in this regard, because traditionally they've been behind and private enterprises surged ahead.
Yes.
So it's good to hear that they're getting with it.
Totally, and hearing the story and thinking about it, where it's easy for a bank to attract a customer, but
Sure.
it's difficult for the tax office to attract a customer.
Yeah,
So
that's
they
right.
need to make that experience even better.
Yeah. Now we're here at CA World 2016 in Las Vegas, as we mentioned, and there's been a swathe of new software launches and upgraded platforms and some developer previews and things. So what are the top messages that you'd like both Australian companies who are watching this, but basically any potential customer of or existing customer of CA to take away from this event? And just quickly, I'll just note that I do have a separate article that has the keynote and a media Q&A with a lot of other information that people can watch, but I thought we'd get the short version from you.
Okay, so I think that what we've done since Mike Gregoire's been CEO is we've moved from an organisation which was very much a mainframe software company to now we're a software...
Which was the
very
place to be.
relevant in the day. Extremely relevant in the day.
But now we carry the equivalent of mainframes in our pockets, right? I mean, if you think about it.
That is correct. and the mainframe that you're filming this off.
My little iPhone.
That technology has really meant that as our customers that we work with, all the businesses today, are trying to build out a lot more applications.
And all the data that's sitting there and the APIs and just getting access to that rich stream of data that we never used before.
That is correct. And so what CA has done is we've positioned ourselves where we have the software tool set to help our customers create what we'd call a software factory. So being able to go from the initial concept of the software to actually building it, securing it and deploying it.
Yeah, and as we learned today, I mean, the tools are beyond mature. The CA's been doing such great work in this area, and there's all sorts of automated tools to help people change things. It must be, customers must be, loving it.
Yeah, so some of the customers have gone on a big journey. Perhaps I can talk about one of the customers in Australia.
Sure, please.
National Australia Bank.
One of the big 4 banks in Australia.
And most recently we've been working with them on their digital transformation and where they're building new application for their internet banking. And as part of that, their CIO, David Boyle, he talked about how being able to use our application experience analytics tool has allowed them to be able to actually proactively go to service desk if they have issues, because they can see the issue before the customer can see the issue.
Sure, and every customer would love to have some of that proactivity happening rather than reactivity.
That is very true.
Yeah. So any thoughts on how the next few years will evolve and roll out?
So I think we've heard about at Davos last year, and I know Mike talked about it today, the industrial, or the 4th industrial revolution. And we're seeing where so many, it's not just software, it's what people call IoT or Internet of Things. And we're starting to see where things like robotics are taking over factories and
artificial intelligence.
That is correct. And I just really feel that the next 4 or 5 years, the volume of software that's going to be produced and the way it will actually change businesses. And we talk about autonomous vehicles. So I was actually talking about that yesterday with someone, and they were saying how in Sweden they're starting to say that Volvo is now going to start guaranteeing the insurance against the autonomous vehicle. So how's that going to change our industry?
Sure, yeah. I mean, I've read reports where you've got one Volvo truck, one of these semis, and it's got sort of 10 behind it, and they're driving in a straight line, and one controls the rest, and it's going to change the transportation industry as we know it.
It changes the transportation industry. It changes the ancillary industry such as insurance, and it changes what's going to happen in employment. So what will employment look like in 5 years' time? is will there be more people producing software and less people working in factories or positions that are being closed down?
Although all those autonomous vehicles will need maintenance, and I mean, new jobs are always created. People think that their job's going to be taken, but new jobs are there.
Yes. I think what happens is that we're seeing it with the way our children are actually being developed at school and university, where we're all expecting that they will have multiple careers within one career. And so the whole education program's now about creating adaptability in the way our children think and react and learn.
Well, our children need to be as agile and as resilient as the software that is being created today, right?
That's very true, Alex.
So I always like to ask the people I'm interviewing if they could share some great advice that you've received over the years that's helped you to get where you are today.
Certainly. So I think this goes back to maybe when I was in my 30s.
Yeah.
And I'd already changed career 3 times by then.
Yeah.
And
you were a trailblazer.
Apparently. I'd changed careers 3 times, and it was my first foray into software.
Yeah.
And it was the owner of a small software company here in Australia, and he'd previously been in HR, so he'd also changed career.
Sure.
And he looked at me and he said, "Paul, you've had so many changes and so many jobs, it's time to settle down."
Yeah.
So since then I've had 2 jobs, so spanning 30 years.
Yeah, and in software.
In software.
Well, there you go.
So I learned to settle.
Excellent. And so do you have any final messages for ITWire viewers and readers and for CA's current and future customers?
Sure. I think as one of the things that I see is really important, and this is something that I alluded to earlier, learned in Japan. We do it as a company anyway, but this customer service, and for anyone that's been to Japan, they will understand that customer service in Japan is untipped, and it's just given because it's the culture of the country.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I aim to drive through CA Technologies is that level of customer service, so that we are known as not only great for software, but great in helping our customers achieve the results or the outcomes that they desire.
I think you'll end up changing the acronym of CA into Customers Appy, or Customer Appiness. That's the one I was thinking of. Well, Paul, thank you very much. It's great to be here in Las Vegas, and I wish you and I a great conference. Thank you.
Great, Alex. Thank you. Thank you for the time.